The amount of debt that Americans are racking up is astounding, growing at a staggering rate. But debt is just a tool. It's leverage. It can be good and it can be bad. It can build you up and it can tear you down. If you don't understand how to use it, it can burn your whole life down. In this video, I'm gonna break down the 2 different ways that it can really be used and how you should think about it. And understanding this can change your entire life. So stay tuned. All right, welcome back. So if you're new to the channel, I just want to let you know on Thursdays, we talk about investing. Typically, we talk about cryptocurrency investing because I believe that's the single best return on investment that we can have today. Although it's risky, we talk about investing into other assets as well. On Tuesdays, I like to talk about before you invest. So I like to talk about things that you need to be thinking about doing to have more success, making more money so that you can invest more. So today we are going to talk about what you should do before you invest, and we're going to talk about debt. I know, right? The 4-letter word, debt. It's a horrible word. Well, it is. It's good and it's bad. I think most people think about debt in a bad sense. It's money that you owe, it's payments that you have to make, and so forth, right? It's horrible. Debt. Who wants to think about debt? Well, we need to think about it. It's a growing problem. It's actually a massive problem. It's growing super fast. As a matter of fact, consumer debt just in America, just in the US, is up to $14 trillion. And I know there's people listening globally, but just in the United States alone, $14 trillion. Now, $9 trillion of that is mortgage, so about a little bit more than half is mortgage debt. So that's kind of good debt, and I'm going to explain that. Auto debt is 1.65 trillion, and that's a problem. That's what I may call bad debt, and I'm going to explain that. Now we have credit cards, almost $1 trillion just in credit cards alone. As you might imagine, not a lot of good debt on those credit cards. And then student loans, almost $1.5 trillion in student loans, and we're going to break that down as well. And I want to, once you understand the differences of these debts, it's really going to change your whole outlook. And like I said, it could really change your whole life. I'm not trying to exaggerate there. So the thing that we just have to know about debt, as astounding, as staggering as those numbers are, it's just getting worse. It's a big problem. As a matter of fact, we had the great financial crash back in 2008, 2009. One of the worst crashes that we've had since the Great Depression. And debt today is worse than it was right at the end of that financial crash. Can you believe that? So as bad as it was right then, as bad as it was when everyone had lost, real estate and their stock accounts were wiped out, people had lost their jobs, obviously they needed to fall back onto some credit. We're worse off now. It's been 10, 12 years of the best bull market we've ever seen. If people aren't flush with cash right now, when will they be? But it's worse now. Debt's worse now. So what's going to happen in another crisis? There's an alarming statistic, one that really scared me and kind of motivated me to make this video, and it's that 40% of Americans can't cover a $400 emergency. That's amazing. 40% of Americans can't cover a $400 emergency. And I hope that's not one of you, but I want to change that. I'm out to change that. Hopefully this video is going to be the first step. And all the other videos that I do, I'm really trying to help with that because that's an amazing number. I don't like it, and I don't want you to be in that bucket. Now, to break this down a little bit, not to pick on anybody in particular, but we have different segments of the population. The baby boomer generation is the largest segment of the population. Well, now the millennials are kind of coming up behind them, but the baby boomer generation is the giant segment of the population. They're aged 55 to 73. 10,000 of them a day are turning 65 and retiring. It's a really big number. Their average debt is $100,000, $95,000 to be exact. So that's a big problem. It's a big problem for them, and we don't want to end up in the same place. We don't want to end it. So let's just dig into this a little bit, all right? Now, I know this probably isn't a subject that you like, but if you understand how to use it, it can be good. So give me some thumbs up if you like that. If you're liking it, if not, give me some thumbs down, but let's get into it. So what is debt? Debt's a double-edged sword, all right? It's a double-edged sword. It's got a blade on both sides. And it can cut, it can defend, right? It can do different things, but it can hurt you on both sides. Now, Really, I like to look at debt as leverage, right? It can help build us up and it can help tear us down. And it can do both faster. It can help us grow faster. It can also help us burn down faster, right? Debt can make us richer and debt can make us poor. Now, like I said in the beginning, most of us think of debt as bad. It's like every month it costs me money, debt. I don't want to think about it. I have so much debt to my eyeball. And we have this negative connotation, but really debt's a tool. Right? Think about that. Debt is just a tool. We need to learn to change the way we think about these things because that's the game changer here. I made a video a while ago about paradigm shift. Actually, I'm going to link to it up above. And I made a video about paradigm shift. And really one of the most powerful tools in the world that we can do is learning how to learn to look at things differently. And if we can learn to look at debt differently, it can change everything. So debt's a tool. All right, so first let's talk about good debt. So good debt is debt that helps us grow, helps us get richer, right? So think about that. So that might be a business loan. So I got a loan for my business. Maybe I needed new equipment. Maybe it was so I could add employees, so I could grow that business. And that little bit of money I made, so I borrowed a little bit of money to go buy that new piece of equipment. But that equipment makes me way more than what that loan cost me, and it makes more on top of that. So that's good debt. Maybe it's a mortgage on an investment property. So I bought an investment property, a rental property, an apartment building, something like that, and the income that comes off of that pays for the debt, and it also puts money in my pocket every single month. That's good debt, right? So those are all types of good debt. They earn income, right? They cover the debt and they earn income. They earn more than it cost, right? That's the best way to think about good debt. Now, good debt can turn into bad debt. And so that's what we have to really be careful for. So it's really easy for us to get carried away. Oh, good debt, good debt, good debt. And we get really careless with that. And then that good debt can turn into bad. So, that's where really it comes into like the person that's borrowing. And again, it's a tool, right? So tools can be used for good and bad, right? So imagine like a screwdriver. A screwdriver could help fix a car, but it could also be used to hurt somebody, right? So it's really the tool, but it's how you're using that tool. So if I go out and I start buying a bunch of equipment thinking, oh no, this is great, this is gonna help my business grow, but really I didn't think it through properly, I bought too much, well now it didn't bring in the extra business, and now my business is suffering because I have to pay it off. Or maybe I tried to grow my business too fast, but I didn't do it in the right manner, and now the growth didn't sustain, and now it's costing me more. So good debt can turn into bad, so we need to be careful of that. And let's talk about bad debt. So bad debt, well, like I said, I classify good debt as debt that pays for itself. Bad debt is debt that doesn't pay for itself. So bad debt is car loans, as we've talked about. Now, I just said business expense, so if that car is a business equipment, I guess it fits there, but for the most part, car loans are bad debt. I've broken this down in a few videos before, right? Cars lose on average about 30% in the first couple of years. So your money is losing money right off the bat. So not only is the debt not making you money, the debt's losing money. That's the worst position to be in. So car loans are horrible. Payday loans are horrible. Credit cards are horrible. And I know a lot of you are saying, well, you have these low interest rates. I mean, maybe, but those are introductory rates. Most credit card debt is interest rates are very, very high. So credit card debt, basically anything that's used for personal consumption. That's bad debt because that doesn't make you money. That's like for your living expenses, like vacations and trips and clothes and things like that. None of that's going to help make you money. All of that is basically going to be forgotten about, in a short period of time, and it's not making you richer. It makes you poorer, right? It makes you poor. You spent the money. That stuff's not going to be any good in the future anyway. Now you have the debt you still have to pay off, and it makes you poor. So that's all bad debt. Now, like I said before, debt's a tool. Debt is leverage, and so it can be good. And we just have to learn how to identify that and make sure that the debt we're using is leveraging us up to get richer and not get poor. But when I say it's leverage, like I said, the important thing is it can help me grow faster. Now, if I had to save that money for that new equipment, it might take me a long time to save all that money up so I could buy that new equipment. So when I use debt, it helps me get that new equipment faster. That's leverage, all right? But if that debt turns into bad debt, if that equipment ends up not helping my business, takes a downturn, I don't need that equipment anymore. If I had saved up for that, it took me longer, but all of a sudden now that equipment's worthless and it's not helping me with my business, well, at least I don't owe anything on it. So it's not gonna tear my business down versus if I use that debt that helped me get it faster. Now, because I have to continue to pay that debt, it's going to pull my business back down faster. That's what I mean by leverage both ways. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, all millionaires, all billionaires, they all use debt. They do it. I mean, you have to. Donald Trump, the president of the United States, he's used massive, massive debt in order to build his real estate empire in New York. All millionaires and billionaires use debt. And so if we want to be like the rich, we have to learn to do that, but we have to learn how to do it responsibly, all right? Now that's what debt is. Now let's talk about what debt you may have and what we can do about that. So most likely, if you're like most people, like those stats I put out in the beginning, you have some bad debt, all right? Bad debt that's not making you money. Bad debt that's costing you money. So what are we gonna do about that? We wanna pay that debt off. We need to get rid of that. So I'm gonna give you 3 steps for getting out of debt, and I think it's gonna make it pretty simple. So hopefully this is gonna help you. So step number 1. The step number 1 is maybe not the most obvious one, but it's where I'm gonna start because I don't like to do things like everybody else. So step number 1 that I would say to get out of debt is to increase your income, all right? Think about that. Think about how much money you're making now, and then add up all your debt, all right? Do this little exercise. Think about how much money you're making now, add up all your debt, and then think about it. How long would it take you to pay all that debt off? Is it 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? How long is it going to take you to pay that debt off? Chances are it's going to be a long time, and you're probably not going to like that. So you can't really save your way into wealth. You can cut your expenses back and you can try all those things, but really you need to increase your income. And the best way to increase your income is to learn new skills. Learn some scalable skills, some high income skills, some things that you can apply that you can have massive scale over, all right? Now, I talked about that in a video before. I'm gonna go ahead and link to it up above if you wanna learn more about how to increase your income. So check out that video, but increase your skills, increase your value, and that's gonna be the fastest way to pay off your debt, all right? Now, the second way to pay off your debt, step number 2, is to use good debt to invest into yourself. All right, now this kind of goes back into step number 1, is increase your income. But if you can use good debt to invest into yourself, now that could, then you can learn to bring more value. You can learn to increase your skills. And so that might be a course, a seminar, things like that. So maybe you want to learn how to do Facebook marketing and you need to pay a couple $100 for this Facebook marketing course. Or maybe you want to learn how to do copywriting and you need to pay for a copywriting course. Or you want to go to this seminar, this conference to increase your skills so you can provide more value. So you could use debt to invest into yourself to increase your skills so you can provide more value so you can increase your income. So that would be good debt, and that'd be another way that you can do that. But the most practical way, step number 3, is to actually list out your debts and start paying off. And here's what we're gonna do with that. So what we wanna do is we wanna list out all your debts. Now, we need to get them all on a piece of paper. We need to look at them all next to each other. And I don't want you to just put like round numbers like 2,000, 5,000, no. I want exact numbers, $2,258.35. You want to see it exact. You want to know exactly what that is, and you want to see it all in relation next to each other. And then next to all the amounts that are owed, you need to write all the interest rates that are owed. And you need to see both of those together, the amounts owed and the interest rates amounts that you're paying on the debt that's outstanding, all right? So once you can see all of that together, there's 2 different ways that you can attack this. So step number 1, the first approach is what's called like a snowball approach. And the snowball approach is just kind of trying to get the ball rolling and then building momentum. So what they would do in the snowball approach is they would take the debt and they would sort it from lowest to highest. So say you have a $1,000 debt, a $2,000 debt, a $7,000 debt, a $10,000 debt. What they would do is they would start paying the lowest debt first, $1,000. So just knock the $1,000 off, just get it out of there, get it off the list, and then start work on the second lowest amount and third and so forth. And that's a snowball effect. Like I said, we're trying to get the ball rolling. And the benefit of doing that is that you start to get this momentum. You get these psychological wins where all of a sudden, you paid off a debt, you've checked it off the list, and you're like, yes, you get enthusiastic and you keep going, and it makes it easier. So that's one way, that's a snowball effect. The other way is the avalanche. This one is probably the better way if I was to choose one of the 2. The first one, the snowball, is better because it's like a psychological thing. Avalanche probably makes more sense financially. So the avalanche effect is then you take that same list, But instead of sorting them by the amount of debt that's owed, you sort them by the interest rate that you're paying. And you start to pay the highest interest rates first, because that's where you're gonna have the most leverage. So if some of them you have 3, 4, 5% interest, but some have 17, 18, 20% interest, start paying the 20% interest rates first. Pay all the 20% off first, then the 16, then the 14, and work your way down. Now, I get asked a lot, because I talk about, on Thursdays, we talk about investing, and everybody wants to know, should I pay off my debt before I'm investing? And I typically say yes, for a couple of reasons. One, because investing is for money that we can afford to lose. That's money that's side money. After we've saved up money, we have our emergency money, then we invest with money we have left over. But if you have debt, especially high interest debt, it's going to be hard for those investments to make more than the interest you're paying on the high interest debt. So if you're paying 24% on your credit card and you're only making 10% on your real estate, you're still losing money, right? You got to pay the 24% off first. That's the best way to do that. And so pay off the high interest debt first. That's what I recommend. Anything over 5%, I would consider high interest. So start on that. So does that make sense? Do you like that? Give me some thumbs up if you like it. If you don't, give me some thumbs down. Let me know which of those programs you would use to pay off your debt, Snowball or Avalanche. Leave it in the comments down below. I love to have conversations with every single one of you. So please give me some feedback to your success. I'm out.